what makes a world feel alive? One of the main goals of any sort of modern video game is to make the player feel as though they're within a living, breathing world. A good setting is able to keep us as the players engaged. It sort of manages to hide the truth that in reality, everything that's occurring around us is just a game. Now, for as long as I can remember, I've found myself admiring the beauty of open world games. There's something that's just so fun about booting up a title and being able to go do whatever you want. When a game allows you that freedom of choice and exploration, you start to actually grow more connected to it. But when a game has a living, breathing world around it, you start to feel like that experience actually matters. And that's sort of what I want to investigate here today. In the age of shitty open worlds and lazy sandbox games, what is it that makes a great setting truly stand out? So please, by all means, sit back and relax, grab yourself something to drink, and listen to me ramble a while about what makes a world worth exploring. Now, in my opinion, the best gaming maps are the ones that feel like they can exist without the player. When we set down the controller, the earth around us continues to move on. We can watch as people come and go, and it makes it feel like all of the characters that we bump into have lives of their own. This is the power of NPCs, or non-playable characters. Now, NPCs are what give these worlds life, because without them, everything would just feel empty. If you ever wanted to experience how creepy a map is without NPCs, boot up Gary's mod. If you've never played it before, it's essentially just a giant sandbox where you, as the player, have the ability to spawn in whatever you want. However, as a result of this, whenever we load into a map, there's nothing there. The sandbox is empty. There's something really uncanny about wandering these huge, vast open areas with nobody in it. When you walk around in Gmod alone, you can't help but feel that you've been trapped within a liminal space. It's eerie, scary even. You walk around with the feeling that something has to be somewhere, but there never is. You see, this game can't operate without the player's input. If we never take the time to spawn anything in or move around, Gary's mod is nothing more than a static image. Conversely though, if we look at games like Grand Theft Auto or Cyberpunk, we can see worlds filled to the brim with NPC interaction. You can watch as people go about their days and interact with one another as things like traffic accidents, police investigations, and gang attacks unfold. Night City is vibrant with life, and in every little nook and cranny you investigate, you're bound to find at least a couple of NPCs just hanging around. And something about that just makes the game feel cozy, right? That no matter what staircase or back alley you go down, there will always be somebody there. When you walk into a bar in Red Dead 2 and you see the people drinking and playing cards, it feels like the world there is genuine. These people were here before you arrived, and in all likelihood, they're still going to be there by the time that you leave. These NPCs didn't need you to walk into the bar. They were going about their lives just fine. But by creating this sort of autonomy within the game's characters, the developers make a world that feels exciting and real. Some developers will even take this a step further and script out random events that can occur around the map, which allows players to have different experiences from one another. It's why during your Fallout playthrough, you can walk under a specific bridge and find some friendly traders, and on your friend's playthrough, he can walk under that same exact bridge, except he gets mauled by a pack of feral dogs. Random encounters are a really cool and easy way to spice up the game and make it feel more spontaneous. It keeps the player excited because even after hours of playing, they never know what to expect next. Now, filling your world with NPCs and random events is great and all, but they'd all be sort of pointless if the world itself wasn't worth exploring. If you want the player to actually go around and see what your game has to offer, then you've got to give them plenty of different things to do. And perhaps some of the best examples of this are Bethesda games. In nearly every Bethesda title you play, there are a ton of different side quests. If you walk into a bar, you're given a quest. If you talk to a random guy, you're given a quest. If you accidentally pick up an item that is somehow in every fucking chest in every dungeon, you're given a quest. The game is constantly throwing different activities and quests at the player in the hope that at least one of them catches our attention, and more often than not, they do. This isn't the main reason that I'm bringing this up though. You see, Bethesda quests are also notoriously good at encouraging the player to go and explore areas of the map that they haven't visited yet. One of the most popular examples being the summit to High Hrothgar. When we initially received this quest, we're still at a fairly low level and haven't really visited anything aside from a few small starter towns. However, when we're given this quest, we're forced to trek around this massive mountain range, discovering all sorts of different places on our way there. Now, not only is the game giving us our main objective in climbing this giant mountain, but as we bump into these smaller areas along the way, we pick up other quests as well, essentially repeating this process and sending us all over the map, which is a killer way to keep players interested in your game. But player interaction isn't necessarily just about quests either. Take GTA 4 for example. If you simply fill the map with basic activities to do, that can do wonders for making the world feel more exciting. In Liberty City, you can play pool, go to comedy clubs, hell, even go bowling.
Hey man, it's me. Let's go bowling.
While in reality these are just small mini-games made to distract the player, they're implemented in a way that feels really natural. For instance, if you walk into one of the subways littered around the city, you can actually hop in the train and travel to different locations. Now listen, little things like that aren't necessary at all, but when you place enough of them around the map, it can really help to improve a player's immersion. Just as important as player interaction is though, it's also crucial that we be able to traverse a map easily and without trouble. So often anymore, games rely upon fast travel to get players to and from. Typically, players will make the actual journey to an area maybe once or twice before using fast travel for the rest of the game. Now, while I think that fast travel is an incredible convenience to casual players, personally, I hate it. For me, it just ruins the immersion and the flow of the game, because why would I ever journey somewhere if I could just instantly teleport there instead? Additionally, if you're just teleporting around all of the action, then what's really rewarding you? Games like Dark Souls are a great example of how good a game can be without fast travel. Across your journey, you'll find different locked doors and areas that provide you shortcuts back to the main hub area. And it's so fucking satisfying when you finally clear out a difficult area and you found a new, much easier way to get to it. Dark Souls' map design has been revered for years, and I wish that more games could learn from it and create their worlds in a way that is both convenient and rewarding to its players. Fallout 4's survival mode is another really good example of this, because in that, fast travel is actually disabled. Partner that with the food and sleep mechanics and you'll actually find yourself stopping at bars and hotels throughout your journey to rest, which is something I don't think I can say for any of my normal playthroughs. When the world is designed in a way where you actually have to use its resources to survive, that's good world design. But if you take that and then suddenly say, add fast travel to it, then suddenly everything that you've added has been rendered irrelevant, because people are just going to avoid the difficulty. Say what you want about Fallout 4 as a whole, but survival mode is objectively the better way to play the game. It actually immerses you in Fallout's world, and it makes you feel like you're struggling to survive out in the wasteland somewhere. And I really appreciate that. Now, I'm not trying to sit here and just bash fast travel, because there are some games that have it that I really like. For instance, one of my previous examples, Cyberpunk, utilizes fast travel perfectly. Its map is so large that to not have it would be a bit of an annoyance, but Cyberpunk's world is so fun to travel around in that players seldom ever use it. It's there just in case you don't feel like taking the journey, but the journey in this game is so fucking fun that you'll probably only use it a handful of times. Now you might be wondering why it's so fun to travel around in Night City without the use of fast travel, when in other games it feels like we use it religiously. And in my opinion, it all comes down to aesthetics. Now different people probably interpret this term differently, so allow me to clarify what I mean here. When I speak about aesthetics, I'm referring to the overall vibe or feeling that is achieved when you're playing the game. When you're playing Cyberpunk, everything from the visuals down to the music is infused with this heavy neon theme. If you just take the time and walk around Night City, it has a vibe that is unmistakable. You genuinely feel like you're in Night City, not someplace else. I think it's important for games to nail the aesthetic that they're going for, because if your environment can't capture what your game is all about, then what is it really doing? One of my favorite examples of this is the tanker chapter from Metal Gear Solid 2. In this level, we infiltrate an oil tanker entering the New York harbor, and Snake is forced to board this vessel in the cold, pouring rain. Now, if you're not familiar with Metal Gear, essentially it's just a game that's all about sneaking around in the dark, knocking out enemies. And what better environment of that could you think of than an oil tanker in the middle of a midnight storm? Even when we make our way inside of the ship, this theme continues. We can still hear the rain pounding on the outside of the ship, and if we look out of the windows, we can see that the storm has only intensified. This right here is essentially the entire aesthetic of Metal Gear boiled down into a single mission. And it's really cool to see how Hideo Kojima was able to create such a strong style in the first mission of the game. Aesthetic isn't just limited to visuals though, as the music and sound effects also play a crucial role in establishing it. Take for instance Disco Elysium, where we're not only treated to beautifully artistic visuals, but we also get a taste of some truly stellar audio design. When we make our way out of the building that we initially start in and out onto the town of coastal Martinez, our ears are treated to an absolutely wonderful chorus of music and sounds, ranging from seagulls and distant waves to the brass horns that drive the main melody. I'm sure that a lot of you guys haven't played this game before, but take my word for it when I say that the soundtrack of Disco Elysium perfectly encapsulates Disco Elysium. If you couldn't tell from all of this, it's sort of hard to boil something down to its aesthetic. After all, how can you define something when all it is how it makes somebody feel? I mean, why should we even credit developers for something when the whole thing we're complimenting is so ambiguous? But to me, aesthetic is probably the most important thing that I've mentioned here today. Cyberpunk wouldn't be Cyberpunk without the neon reflecting off the rain. Red Dead wouldn't be Red Dead without all of the lonesome sunsets and nature. When a game is able to make you feel something so deeply, something so deep down in your core, it's typically been aided by the game's aesthetic. And what's more important to a game than it making us feel something? The worlds we walk are seldom shown the love that they deserve. We'll spend hours upon hours learning their layout and traveling through them, even creating memories within their space. But they're all fake. They're just simple lines of code on a computer screen meant to keep us engaged. And something about that, something about being able to make a world that resembles ours, or making one far beyond our wildest fantasies, is beautiful to me. There's so much love that goes into each of these experiences, and you can't help but feel it when you're playing these games. I encourage each of you next time you're playing your favorite game to investigate what you love about the world. Maybe it's the weather that rolls through that keeps you on your toes, or the way that you just get lost and a part of it for hours and hours. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Isaac, and I'm a guy on the internet that gets a bit too sentimental about video games, evidently, and I appreciate you watching today's video. If you stuck through to the end and you enjoyed it, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button. I'm sort of what you'd refer to as a starving artist, so every little like and show of support means the world to me. And for all of my returning viewers, as always, I hope you guys are doing well. You know I love you. I'm out.